Hello everyone, I am Tacit, and today I'm going to be going over the Gems of War event objectives for the Crimson Dawn event, in which the Crimson Agent is added to the game. So this is a pretty big milestone week. Not only is it the final week of Season 5 for Gems of War, but more importantly, it's also the week that Lycanthropy finally ends at the end of this week. However, more importantly than both of those two things is we are finally going to hit 1,000 total troops as of this Friday. I'll be getting a new faction this Friday, which will bump us over to get into 1,000, or technically 1,003, because it's just going to kind of skip right over it because we're getting 4 on because every new faction. But yeah, pretty nice milestone for the game. This game started with less than 100 when it first launched, because it was pretty funny. There was an achievement for getting 100 troops, but yeah, it wasn't possible because there was less than 100. But that should be pretty fun. Definitely a lot of options. Speaking of which, of course, the event troop this week of 300 glory can stock up on blue-red. It's actually not horrible, and it's mostly because the mythic in the season pass right now. It destroys all Lycanthropy gems, and because it says destroy, this means two things. You accumulate purple mana from it, and you also end up triggering all of those. So if you destroy at least 4 Lycanthropy gems, you will be Lycanthroping the entire enemy team. The more interesting thing about this, though, is that it creates 8 red gems boosted by gems destroyed. So every single Lycanthropy gem it destroys, it creates 3 additional red. So for example, if it somehow was to destroy 10 Lycanthropy gems, that would end up being 38 red. Of course, there aren't too many instances where that would really happen. However, there is one really specific one, and that is the new mythic. Ends up converting green into Lycanthropy and yellow into Doomskull, and it uses red. This also uses red. They both use red. The other thing creates Lycanthropy gems. So you could basically create Lycanthropy gems, convert everything into red, get this to full mana, get the other thing to full mana, and then cast again. It should be pretty devastating. It's probably not going to be an infinite loop though, because to constantly get alignment off of the mythic is very unlikely. However, there is definitely a lot of synergy there, and it'll be interesting to see how that ends up panning out, as that can be used in other forms of team in order to mana generate red as well. So yeah, this thing, it's going to be very utility based. Oh, and also on top of all that, he is fast and he has Fire Link. So overall, one of the better glory troops we've gotten this year. However, it is exceedingly situational, the kind of team that you end up using it for. Kind of reminds me of Rogue Spider a little bit, except not as good, or Night Spider, I should say. I always call it Rogue Spider, but you know, the Night Spider that's used with pure Rogue teams. This is a little bit different in that it doesn't have to be used with a pure typing team, though it's definitely going to need something that can create a lot of Lycanthropy. And given that we pretty much have all the Lycanthropy troops that are ever going to come into the game, that is primarily the Mythic that is available through the Season Pass, or whenever the next Maugrim Woods event comes around. Do be mindful, as far as the event key drop table is concerned, the campaign Mythic is not in the drop table, nor the 2 new Mythics are in Soulforge, but this thing right here, Hatter and Scroll, not in drop table. Also the Moon, not in drop table. That's relevant for something in Soulforge, but neither of these 2 are in drop table. Hatter and Scroll will come back around next Maugrim Woods event, not this one, so don't try for it this one, but the next one that comes around, you will be able to get it in event key drop table. However, it is specifically not in this one, and the Moon will be available in the Vault key drop table in about 5 to 6 weeks. Both are relevant since they are kind of used for a couple things. With that being said, since I am talking about the event key drop table, let's actually go to Maugrim Woods. As far as what's available here, everything you see here, except for several exceptions, are available. Those exceptions include the 4 Hellgate troops, the 3 Hatter and Scroll related troops. They all have the same mana cost of the blue, red, purple thingy, and those 3 aren't, and everything else is. Oh, and not the Were-Raven. So gosh, that's like 4 things, or sorry, 8 things. So Were-Raven's not in drop table, the Moon is not in drop table, the 3 mythic thingies, and 2 of them are Doom, but you know, the 3 red, blue, purple things are not in drop table, and the 4 faction troops are not in drop table. So what is in drop table? Basically, Farx Troll if you want to pick it up, and that is probably it, unless you're really specifically targeting a mythic. The mythics are pretty bad, but yeah, you're pretty much just opening event keys for Forest Guardian if you're bothering to do it at all. So yeah, if you don't have Forest Guardian yet, highly advise potentially picking it up off some event keys. Otherwise, you basically do not want to open event keys, as you'd probably want to wait till the next Maugrim Woods event when all the, well, specifically the Hatter and Scroll, if you don't currently have it, will be in the drop table. However, currently, it is not. Anyways, as far as other things that we got going on this week, we do have Guild Wars, so remember to set your defend teams and all that good stuff. We'll be streaming every single night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, as we always do. Aside from that, as far as the faction event, All we really have to do for this is do rarity order. The only real exception to this is the Werverine underneath the epics is worth a little bit less than the other two epics. So if you get to a situation where it is around and the other ones are also around, the Werverine is the one that you generally don't want to do. However, it is just rarity order. So it goes Hatter Ascendant as the best one, which is a mythic. The Werestag is a legendary, is the second best. The Werewolf and Werebat is the next best underneath epic. The Werverine is an epic that you want to generally avoid, though you'd still take it if there's ultra rares. And the absolute worst is the Werecat. So in this situation, we take the Werverines, though generally if you see other epics, you do want to avoid the Werverines. But it's pretty straightforward. It has a Human Knight restriction, so you could just use Tesla, so it should be pretty straightforward. That's your cheaper team. But if you have Tesla, literally just run Tesla, and it's pretty auto-win, since we do have additional spell damage, and that does scale her damage. Even though she does not do magic-based damage, the token that increases the damage from it does indeed still work on her for spell damage, because it does still count as spell damage. Similar to Fairy Fire, how Fairy Fire would give it 50%, this still gives it its full bonus. So even though it doesn't boost based on magic, it does boost based on these percents, which is, of course, very, very strong. Aside from that, some things that we got going on this week. Other than that, Tuesday we have the Hellgate faction, of course. Wednesday we have the War Gear pet. To be able to get bonus for that, it's like a little wolf thingy. Thursday, we have the class event for Warden. Warden's main gimmick, it actually does need to be level 270 to actually be able to do it. And the main gimmick for that is the only hero class in the entire game that has both Greenstorm and Dispel. This might not sound too particularly useful, however, it works for Truffle team and it works for Beatrix team. So if you want to have both a Greenstorm in order to get their looping a little bit better, as well as the Dispel to make sure they can actually do damage to everything, this can end up being pretty good. It's normally used for Delves, since you don't necessarily need to worry about dying, and it helps get rid of Submerge. However, there are a few other instances where it might end up coming into play, but you mostly use it for Truffle and Beatrix due to how strong they are with a Greenstorm, and its spell makes it so they can always do their damage, so ends up working out pretty well. So yeah, it used to be a pretty bad hero class, but ever since those two troops kind of became relevant, or into the game, they've always been relevant. Has definitely made Warden hero class quite a bit stronger over the last few years. As far as troops in Soulforge, you basically want to ignore the normal ones that are here for the week. However, we have two particularly special ones that are now available as of at the end of the season. They always do something at the end of every single season, and this time we got Hatter Ascendant and Scroll Reborn. These are both very bad boss troops. However, there is one plus side to it. They are ultra cheap to craft. The Scroll Reborn is the absolute cheapest. Not only does it only cost 8 orange orbs, but it requires the Sun. The Sun came in 2 seasons ago, if I'm not mistaken, and it's actually in the Volkey drop table. You may notice I have a 3 here. That's because I already had a copy, and we found 2 while opening Volkeys the other week because of all the gnomes to try to find the 4 new gnomes, and of course, in doing so, we found 2 Suns. The Sun is in the Volkey drop table right now. You probably want to wait until the Moon is also in drop table before you go open more Volkeys. However, if you did really want Scroll Reborn, and you don't currently have the Sun, you can try finding it by opening a bunch of Volkeys. Keep in mind the chance is very low. We found 2 in like 400 or 500. However, they are there, and it would allow you to get Scroll Reborn if you're playing free-to-play, and if you already got from the past season, you already have it laying around, and you can just simply go for it. But yeah, this is actually the better one of the 2, which is kind of weird because he's actually way cheaper to craft than the other one, since it's orange and not blue, and the Sun, which is currently easier to get than the Moon, but because the Moon's currently money locked until like 5 weeks from now. But anyways, as far as this troop, it's kind of like a Shegra. It creates 5 yellow gems and converts all the yellow gems to Doom Skulls. Actually, kind of more like Lord of Slaughter then. And then it ends up summoning 1 to 3 wargs. Overall, probably going to be a little bit worse than Lord of Slaughter. It does have Impervious going for it. It does get to give Beast a little bit extra attack. Overall, it's going to be okay. It does have a resummon too. Normally that's not too relevant, especially since it mana blocks it. However, given that you're doing a skull spam team, and assuming this isn't in first slot, if it's a little bit further back, like in second, third, or something, you can end up getting a resummon meat shield into first slot, and then kind of use that as your protection. So overall, it's not horrible. It's definitely the better of the 2 new ones. I still feel like the normal mythic, the actual mythic one and not the boss one, is going to be the absolute strongest. Of course, one big downside of all these boss troops within the game is they do take 5 times damage to those boss killing troops, which basically means they can get one-shotted in many situations, and quite a few of them are viable even when they're not doing 5 times damage. And when they are doing 5 times damage, they're pretty much just a free one-shot. So do be very wary of that if you're going to be utilizing him. But yeah, he's definitely the better of the 2. The other one does converts to 6 green, or creates 6 green gems and then converts all greens to lycanthropy. This will be good if you're building some kind of very heavy lycanthropy build. Purple does indeed feed back into itself as well, so it does mana generate back into itself. So there's a little bit of synergy there, though I don't personally feel like it's going to be as strong, though it does have impervious as well. But overall, they're definitely not must-haves. I don't feel like either are going to be too meta. Scroll Reborn might get some usage, but this thing's going to have too high of a mana cost to really end up working. Unless we can get something that can really viably create a lot of green and purple to synergize with it, that can also use that color to mana generate back into itself, we're probably not going to have too good of an option for it. And do keep in mind, they do count as beasts, so you can still half mana start them off of Forest Guardian. But anyways, those things are around, and also keep in mind, these should be always around, similar to how Zugoff and Enraged Karandera are just simply always available. That will be the case for these two as well. But hey, we have 4 boss troops now. There they are, all 4 of them. As far as their tiers right now, Zugoff is by far the best. It's not even remotely close. If you're going to get anything first, Zugoff it is. Then I'd probably say Scroll Reborn, then Hatter Ascendant, and the absolute worst is poor Enraged Karandera. The thing with these two as well is they're basically weaker than the Mythic, and it's kind of funny because Enraged Karandera is the same way. The normal Karandera that's a Mythic is actually better than the boss rarity version, and the same thing is actually relevant for these two, though at least these two are a little bit more usable than Enraged Karandera at least. Anyways, aside from that, as far as weapons, main weapon to really consider is Doomed Glaive if you happen to have the resources for it. You might see me using this a lot with like a Truffle team, though you can also use the brown version of this. However, this is one of the 6 core best Doom weapons in the game, the ones that hit all damage to enemies and convert a color into Doom Skulls. Very, very powerful. The main gimmick that you would use with this as far as team composition is Forest Troll double Gob Truffle into this and use it with Warden hero class. And ends up getting really, really good synergy and just hits for a lot of damage. It's primarily used for delving whenever you can end up using it for delving. Aside from that, maybe Hope's Crescent. I don't personally feel like I use this, however, it is one of the armor tier weapons and does have some upscaling damage. Overall, you're not really going to be using it because their life, it has to be greater. And if their life's already greater, this probably isn't one-shotting in many situations. It's a little bit of a weird condition that makes it generally not that good. But if you're going to get anything, Doomed Glaive, definitely the way to go if you happen to have the resources for it. Otherwise, the double converting weapons, or, the double gem creating ones, are never too bad of an option. But if you were to get anything, Doomed Glaive, highest priority if you can end up getting the greens for it this week. Anyways, aside from that, let's go over all the teams for the week. As far as, start from the top, the World Lore event team. Oh, never mind. I just had this here to show the 3 things. But of course, Hatter and Scroll. Hatter and Ascendant, and Scroll Reborn. I kind of just went over those quite extensively, but I put them here just so I would remember. But this is from the Season Pass, free to play. You get it in the next Maugrim Woods event through event keys, or randomly when it comes in Soulforge. This, of course, you get with the blue orbs, and it requires the moon. The moon is not in drop table until about 5 or 6 weeks from now in the Vault Key drop table, and this you end up getting from having the sun and 8 orange major orbs. The sun is currently in the Vault Key drop table, so you can get that if you don't have it already, and 8 orange orbs is a lot easier to get, and that's how you get all those. Anyways, as far as the world events, the main team I'm going to be using, Angry Mob into Double Tesla into Fist of Heaven. If you have a Tesla, use it. It will absolutely tear through this event. You could even put it in first slot, possibly for the earlier battles, when one is enough to just one-shot, but I figured I'd go a little bit more of a mana accumulation route. You don't have to go Fist of Heaven, obviously. It's just for mana accumulation purposes. I don't even technically need Hero, though. If you're going to use Hero, Perpetual Red Storm will help just to get the mana a little bit quicker. And of course, we have red off of the banner as well. So it ends up working out pretty nicely. And yeah, basically, if you have Tesla, use Tesla because it will just absolutely decimate the event. If you don't have anything, though, and you need a much cheaper team, double Angry Mob into Raven into the Death Nail. You end up getting this for free just by leveling up your hero. You'll want to cast that first, ideally, so that you can clean up with Raven. Raven you get for free from completing out the Mist of Scales Kingdom. And the Angry Mobs, you just keep spamming. He is a ultra rare that you just have to get from the random Glory Key or Gem Key drop table. But once you have 2 of them, you just kind of keep spamming him. And just go crazy with that. Use your Raven to clean up when they're in death range. If they're not in death range, use Death Nail. And then hopefully they'll be in Raven's death range, and then you just kill them from there. And overall, it should be okay. Obviously slower than Tesla, but it's a good alternative if you don't have Tesla and you need some cheap options. As far as Hellgate, as far as running through, it's a brown... Oh gosh, I forgot the restriction now. It's a brown yellow... Brown red. Sorry, brown red. No, now I actually completely forget. Hold up. Did I accidentally make the wrong team for it? Hold up. I actually forget the color restriction all of a sudden. It's one of those factions I haven't run too much. Yeah, it is brown-red. Okay. That sounded wrong when I said it, but yes, it is indeed a brown-red. So, yeah, you can just end up running any of the pretty standard brown-red teams. You have access to Tesla, though I didn't want to show a Tesla team, obviously, again. This particular one's just a standard kind of Guards Avatar team. Same way that you run a Forest Guardian team. I mean, not Forest Guardian, a Rowain team. Same kind of premise. Use user Scare Shield, get a gigantic Guards Avatar, kill everything, mana accumulate off of turn 2 off a Harpy Mage, kind of like you would use a Leprechaun, except you can't use a Leprechaun because of color restriction, and Cirquet and Hadley just to give all Knights 50% mana start, specifically the only Knight on our team of Guards Avatar just to get the quicker kill. But it works pretty much like that, pretty straightforward, and works out pretty nicely. Aside from that, we do have the Pure Faction. As far as Pure Faction, you can literally just spam 4 Judge of the Deads if you want to. You could do 3 with 1 mana accumulator. The specific one just shows 2 and 2 in case you end up losing one. However, it is actually quicker if you don't mind the risk to just spam Judge the Dead and go 3 or 4 of them. However, this is the slightly safer method, though do keep in mind you do gain some amount of damage by having these guys as well. They do give 50% souls and it gets boost ratio off of souls. However, it's not as much damage as simply having another Judge of the Dead. So do that kind of as you wish, but these are the only 2 troops you will end up needing for the event. And aside from that, for the Warden class event, just a kind of standard quick kill Black Manacle. Black Manacles you just get for free. You do this with Archmages, so you have +5 purple, 3 off of the hero class, 2 off of banner, and yeah, you just use the Dire Wolves. They end up giving a bunch of extra brown and be good to go. Oh, also one thing I did forget to mention, this team actually uses a banner that is a little bit weird. It's the new banner that actually came in the other week. It's the Fanged banner, the +2 purple, +1 brown, -1 yellow. The main reason for this is there currently is not a +2 purple, +1 brown banner that doesn't minus a color that this team uses. So in the current state of the game, this actually ends up working out pretty well. I ended up mentioning this earlier, but of the 2 that end up coming in, the Fanged banner is definitely the better choice if you have the war coins for it. Also, it might actually be the best of the 7 banners. This is mainly because of its synergy with Archmages and the fact that there are quite a few viable options for converting all yellows into purple, which obviously benefits this team quite a bit compared to doing a different color, where if you deny yellow, well, that's not really going to help you because you still have minus on a different color. So Fanged banner is arguably the best of the 7 banners just in total of, you know, the 7 war coin banners within the game, and it is available. It's 50 war coins, which are exceedingly annoying to get. You get them randomly off of like daily deals and stuff like that. If you want to try consistently getting more, constantly run 3 arena runs every day. However, that gets very tedious very quick. However, if you do want to improve your chances, that's the best way. But yeah, Fanged banner, if you have the war coins for it, definitely consider getting it. It's a very viable banner and arguably the best of the 7 that we have in the war coin related ones. But anyways, guys, that will wrap it up for this video. We'll be going over all of the chapter 5 tasks, ending it out, finishing out tonight, and we'll be messing with the 2 new troops as well. Don't really feel like either will be too overly viable, but they have the kind of gimmicks. One feeds mana into itself. One's kind of like a Lord of Slaughter, but slightly weaker. Though it does have a slightly lower mana cost, so it has that going for it. That'll be interesting to see how they pan out. They'll definitely be at least partially viable, and hey, they're pretty cheap to get. I'm so glad to see. I was kind of concerned like they were going to make it like 8 power orbs each, or kind of split it and make it 4 and 4, which wouldn't have been too bad if they were 4 power orbs each. But yeah, they're quite a bit cheaper. It's only 1/3 of a Zugoff in order to craft the one that requires 8 blues, and technically less than that since it's just the blues and not the other 2. Though generally, of course, you're normally bottlenecked on blues more so than anything. But yeah, I'm so glad that they actually made it pretty cheap. When I saw that like months ago, seeing that we would get like a double mythic at the end of the season, I was like, oh no, how much resources is that going to cost? But they did it pretty cheap. I'm actually rather surprised. I hope that becomes a reoccurring thing, because in Rage Carindera was way too expensive for what it is. Zugoff can justify it, just because Zugoff's actually like really, really good. But in Rage Carindera was definitely overpriced at 8 power orbs, so I'm glad they kind of brought it down. They probably saw too many people didn't bother going for it, so hopefully this will be a reoccurring thing where all boss troops in the future will be much cheaper, which might mean they might start bringing boss troops in at a little bit of a quicker pace if they might do it at the end of like almost every season if they're going to do it cheaper like that, which would be kind of interesting to see. But anyways, guys, I'll wrap it up for now. If you still have any other questions, feel free to leave in the comment section below. I hope you all have a wonderful week, and yeah, this Friday we'll be doing a stream throughout the day. And going to go and hit the 1,000 troop milestone. We'll have a little bit of a party for it. We always stream a little bit longer anyways because of the new faction and everything. But yeah, it should be a lot of fun. We'll have a couple of redeem codes and go from there. But anyways, guys, I'll catch you guys later. Have a wonderful week, and thank you all so much for watching. Goodbye, everyone.